On a Monday morning, with a cup of coffee next to us, tea if you prefer tea, I prefer both of them, we like to crunch data. We look at those dashboards that more or less look the same, but the whole idea is that we want to decipher how our campaigns and initiatives have been performing. We look at data metrics like engagement rates, click-through rates, impressions, reach, all these metrics which help us on a weekly basis to understand whether there has been any improvement in terms of conversions or the dialogue that we want to decipher with the users and end consumers. If there is more website visits, then we believe that we have been doing right initiatives and we want to report that as well. Because there are so many initiatives we are running at times, so it becomes at times very difficult to really say whether those vanity metrics, as we call them, especially impressions, whether they are actually doing their job. Whether from top of the funnel to bottom of the funnel, whether things are flowing in the right way or not. And at times we have great answers, at times we say certain things and they do come true. But a lot of times these days when I speak to senior marketing leaders who are running these initiatives, I get a very common point saying that everything looks sturdy, everything looks robust. Our engagement rates are up by 20%, clicks are really sort of up versus the goals that we had. But somewhere something feels fishy. We don't feel like what the numbers are showing in front of us are actually true. And today's podcast is about this AI ad apocalypse, which is happening right in front of us. And we are probably not seeing it very closely to really sort of come to this conclusion that maybe AI is not doing that great job as well. The idea of today's podcast is also not to discourage the use of AI, but the intent of using AI in the fashion. But before I reveal everything, I want to go in a proper flow with you so that I don't jump right into the conclusion. I have some great data points to share with you. So let's dive right into today's podcast. The first data that I want to share with you is about the global ad spend. Based on WARC, in 2025, $1.17 trillion was spent on ads. The projection for 2026 is that it's going to rise. It's going to go above $1.27 trillion, if not less. That means the ad spend is only going to increase. That means more companies are going to be producing more content, more creatives. And think about consumers for that matter. If you imagine a social platform like Instagram, if you visualize your feed, I want you to consider the number of ads that you see when you're scrolling past and how many ads do you remember. So the point that I'm trying to emphasize is this. According to WARC, once again, because it's a great establishment, I want to use their data point to signify what I'm trying to say on the creative cognition load. 1.4 seconds it takes for brand awareness to take in place, and about 3.9 seconds for recall and concentration. Now, if you are already a big brand, like you have a brand from Nestle or you're a big brand like Meta itself, then maybe the duration would be less because you've already spent so much time into them. But 1.4 seconds is what it takes for awareness to take place, which is kind of a decent number. The higher the number, obviously, the better awareness you will have and better brand recall. So where I say 3.9 seconds is the duration it takes for someone as a customer to recall your brand when you ask them in the future whether you remember this brand or you have seen it somewhere or what it does. So brand recall, consideration and comprehension. This would be even more, I would argue, would be taking about 6 to 7 seconds for a brand to really place in the memory of a consumer, of a human being. If I don't say consumer from this point onwards, please stay with me because eventually a consumer is a human being. We have somewhere forgotten that someone as a human being is looking at those ads. And if you keep throwing a lot of ads at them, which is what is happening now, because as a marketer, you have an ad for every channel out there existing, whether that's a digital or a social platform, or even an offline channel as well. If you have a hoarding, you have content ready for that too. So the times have changed. Where the time in this dialogue would have been invested, where you go to an agency, you share a creative brief with them, you spend a lot of cross dialogues and discussions with them, you sit in a creative strategy room where you do some markings on a wall, where you try to come out your great ideas. That has all vanished because that time would normally be obviously a lot more. but with these AI tools, Meta, Advantage Plus, they have all ingrained tools for creative development. That discussion, that, I would say the best part that we as human beings would come out from these discussions, that has just kind of vanished away. So I personally, I'm really missing those discussions. I really hope that this time comes back. But coming to track, what I'm really trying to say is that there's so much content. When I would do normal A/B testing of an ad, having 5 to 6 creatives would normally be enough. That has gone to thousands, tens of thousands, and very soon it would run into millions. So that means every point of the day, every occasion, you have a different creative that a user can see, depending on the day, depending on the mood, depending on so many other variables. What I'm really sort of emphasizing here is the expanse of the initiatives or things that we are able to do with the AI integration. But what we are really missing out is that at the end of the day, it is people like you and me who are looking at those ads. So it is not really about developing more ads, more content. It is really about thinking about that human being. Maybe picture yourself when you are yourself looking at those social feeds. How many ads do you actually remember? How many ads do you actually recall? And how many brands you can actually comprehend? If there is a new brand entering the market, it's a lot of challenge. You may enter with a lot of ads at one point of time, but getting that memory space in the brain of a consumer, of a human being, is the challenge that we have today. And it's not this challenge. Look at this statistic. Based on Imperva, which is a cyber security organization, they reported that automated traffic surpassed human activity for the first time in a decade, reaching over 51% of web traffic, with bad bots playing a huge contribution into it. So that means you are not only showing these ads to humans, you are actually showing more to the machines or to the bots. So going back to that initial idea that if your engagement matrix or your clicks are going high, then where that feeling comes that something is not right, you're actually right. That sixth sense, that intuition that you have is somewhere emphasizing towards the right direction, because the conversions and the consumers are not getting converted at that same level, where concurrently your data is speaking huge volumes about it. So this is a point of concern. And this AI ad apocalypse, one of the fundamental incorrect things that are happening and contributions to this scenario is these ads that we are putting in front of our consumers without thinking too much, without strategizing too much. A part of this challenge is this other area of AI-driven social platforms that have come up. Think about this example. Butterfly's AI is a platform where AI itself generates posts, engages itself, comments, and does everything like you go on an Instagram platform where there is an engagement from a human being. We know that AI bots or bad bots also exist on Instagram, and these social platforms don't like that. You can see inflated numbers of followers where everything is about having this human sentiment where you want to look yourself as an important person on the platform, because those metrics kind of signify that. But in a social platform which is for AI, the attention is not really a concern. And that is also disturbing for us, because we are used to attention-driven environments. Whereas for AI, what matters is a structured format of discussion, where you have a specific H1, H2, H3. These are headers as an instance that I'm trying to emphasize. But on platforms like these, human is a secondary layer. And that is something where we as human beings are not able to understand why is this happening. Now consider this other platform, social AI. Social AI, in a marketing sense, would come across as another social media platform. The platform itself says that it is not for real users. So that means bots are interacting with each other in a social environment. Now the question comes to us as human beings is, why are these platforms even existing? These platforms exist so that AI bots can get better. You can create synthetic scenarios. So if you think that you can go on these platforms and see and mimic your post to see whether this could be a possible engagement, yes, you can do that on these platforms, and maybe use them as a learning mechanism rather than thinking them as platforms where a human intervention is required. Now, peculiar thing about these AI-led platforms is the structure. Everything will be in boxes where they are supposed to be. If they are out of those structured format, these platforms would not have those engagements that they're supposed to have. Whereas we as human beings, we like structure, but if everything is too structured, we lose attention. We like things that are distinctive in us. When I say distinctive enough, look at these creatives from Nestle. They ran this campaign in Colombo. If you look at this creative, you can really sort of immerse in them. You can see the protagonist, the man in the middle, enjoying Nestle crema de leche and saying speechless dishes. It is not with a lot of words. It has the product's hero right at the center. It says a lot of things without confusing enough. And to me, it comes across as distinctive. If you're listening to this podcast on audio mode, then I would encourage you to go on YouTube and Spotify, where I shared the video formats of these podcasts. They bring the human element out. You can see a lot of fine tuning may be done with AI integration, but so subtle, even if there is, then it's all beautifully done. Especially with the smoke coming out from the food, I'm sure you can get the idea. But this is how intelligently I would encourage the use of AI in today's times. If you are using Meta Advantage Plus or TikTok ads for that matter, you can say that this particular content or ad looks very much the same like any other. Look at this snapshot from Meta Advantage Plus. All these creatives are within templates. These platforms obviously encourage you to use their creative tools embedded into their platforms. They look very much the same. Even if you have less clutter in the middle, you cannot distinguish between these creatives. And this is what I'm trying to emphasize. If you lose the human essence of distinctiveness, the use of colors, the use of emotions, the use of feelings, this doesn't really come off well using these AI-led tools. They may perform well, but in the attention span or in the memory of the consumer, you're hardly getting any space. So what is the use of making so many ads when they are of no use to you as an advertiser? Let me share a couple of real-life examples now. Think of Substack, where other media businesses have doubled down on algorithmic reach. Substack, on the other side, has built around email. Now, it is one of the few channels today that create unmediated attention, where a user actually wants to see that information, not algorithmic-based reach and recommendations. If Substack was not working, they would have not crossed 5 million paid subscribers by the March of 2025. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm promoting newsletters and emails. All I'm trying to say here is that these channels where users have themselves signed up and are paying for it, that means there is enough demand for less cluttered content. Now, look at OLIPOP. OLIPOP is an entirely different product and brand from Substack. OLIPOP is a beverage brand, which entirely means it's a different universe from Substack. But see how the story connects. If you look at the positioning of OLIPOP, the story is always about a new kind of soda. And this positioning or this statement is everywhere across retail formats. They are present. This brings this positioning layer in the minds of the consumers who are using OLIPOP. And that is the reason that they reported a valuation of $1.85 billion in 2024. They had sales of $400 million and they reached profitability. So a new entrant in the market where you have this commoditized market, really these big brands like Coke and Pepsi are already present here. You have OLIPOP, a new entrant, making a mark for itself. How? By simple to understand positioning statement. Now, if I bring Substack into this discussion, once again, if you connect the dots, where Substack uses email as an anchor, where it invites users to fetch information from them, you have OLIPOP, who is inviting consumers with a clear positioning statement. Moltbook has been in the news for the last few days and weeks. It's a social media platform for AI. Which is slightly incorrect to say because it's not. It's really a platform where you are exposing different AI agents to interact with each other. Again, if you recall the idea that I was talking about synthetic data, synthetic users, you are training AI agents to talk with each other. Usually what happens at the moment is that we all develop AI agents of some sort, where even in your organization, if there's an AI agent, it's in isolation. It's talking to its own ecosystem with its own infrastructure. But there has to be a point in time where these AI agents that are existing in silos will need to come together in an ecosystem where they can talk to each other so that they can be improved. Obviously, with AI, the security issues come. With Moltbook, there has been some data leaks, some private information of the users that has been revealed on these platforms. But there's nothing to worry about because this will happen. With every change, with every distortion, with every tectonic shifts, these things come. Bringing this all together, you have ad spend increasing year on year. You have more creatives being developed on a daily basis. You have AI-inflated traffic contributing to your performance matrix. And then you have AI-led social environments that are emerging really fast. And then you have the human brain, which is not evolving as such with these changing times. It is the same formation. It has the same psychological principles like the habituation. It has the same memory formation. It has the same attention span. So what is all happening in AI ad apocalypse is so much of content being put forward in front of human beings that it's leading to less ad recall, less brand comprehension. So the discussion should not be about how much emphasis you should give to brand marketing or performance marketing, whether you should be looking at data metrics like engagement rates or clicks or website visits. It should be about whether you are being distinct enough to stand in front of your target audience, who is a human being, and are you really creating that space in their memory? Are you capturing their attention? So focusing on metrics like maybe the NPS scores, the CSAT scores, talking to your consumers, whether they actually recall the brand that you're advertising or the initiative that you're doing. I hope you enjoyed today's content and it has been interesting and helpful, because the whole idea of the marketing guy is to come out with these new insights, new trends, what is dynamically happening right out there in the marketing world so that we can discuss about it. If you do like this content, do share your feedback in the comments. My name is Rachit Kapoor and you've been listening to The Marketing Guy. Before I see you in the next episode, do take very good care of yourself. I will see you very soon.